Hello there, and divine loving greetings. Welcome back. It's me, Alura, and we have a lot to talk about. Hey everybody, so it's been a little while since my last YouTube upload. Probably around Christmas time, I think the last one was. I'm a little rusty and I'm not really into doing the YouTube as much anymore, to be honest with you. I used to really love doing this. I really did. I've taught so many people and I've helped change so many lives. And then after time, I've just faced so many challenges, and I never really understood why me. Why am I one of how many people experiencing the challenges that I am? And I've talked to a lot of people about that. I really have. I've said, why is it that I experience censorship? Because I'm not really talking about anything openly anymore. Not on YouTube anyway, about conspiracy theories or agendas or anything like that for that matter, that they should silence me. I mainly try to put up cool projects. I talk about spirituality, motivation, and I keep some of the more deeper subjects in illumination and truth for my students in the courses, or even those on Facebook that wish to join with me. So I've been very, very careful, and I expected that some of the censorship issues would have lifted like long before. But unfortunately, it's been there since probably 2016, when I really started going out on a limb talking about things and just, starting to go deep. And I don't think that a lot of people really realized what I was really talking about, except the students, because, we were really breaking it down. I think that's also why a lot of people didn't take me as seriously. I wasn't up there putting my head on the chopping block like some of these other YouTubers, getting into business that really didn't concern me. I talked about it with the students, and I helped them to free their minds in understanding true mysticism, and without really exposing that out in the open. I think people were just, like, oh, well, Laura doesn't talk about this or that. She just talks about this stuff. And, they weren't really listening to the message that was under the surface. So what about that message? Well, I think the reasons why I was censored is because, we live in a world that it's a matrix. It is what it is. We can't change the fact that this is all digital all around us. And it's true, science, spirituality, you have to realize that everything is a number. Everything is a code. It's true. So in that, we are all locked into this through consciousness in this environment. There's cross-hatching energy waves from the celestials that build up the holographic world that we're actually reflecting off of. And even your body too. So your soul incarnates here, or you're created here. And either or, if you're a native to Earth or you've come to Earth for whatever reason or purpose, you are connecting to everyone within that web of consciousness. And it's not through, just being here, observing and witnessing. It's actually through you and your light. So it's true. I say it in a lot of my readings to a lot of people. And that's why I think a lot of people stick around for a while, because when I do their readings, I don't just hand them the results. I go into things and I try to help them to be comfortable with the information, to understand where I'm coming from with it as an angelic. And I explain to them time and time again, that we don't see images, we see light. The frequency of that light then goes to the brain. The brain sends a message down to your physical library of light, which is the DNA. And then everything that's been recorded through your bloodlines throughout time is then kind of charged up, and then the information that you need, that it's seeking for, gets sent up to the brain, and voila, you see what your DNA has been programmed to see. And that's why you can stick two people in a room, somewhere, without ever having been told what the objects are or what they look like, but they'll still sit next to each other describing the same two objects because it's in the DNA. DNA is the holder of all understanding here in this 3D programmed world. So with that being said, I know that if you've ever seen the movie, I think it was the Avengers. It was the last one that they just made. The guy goes in there into this room and he puts on this helmet and he's able to tap into all things. He can zoom in on one person, go into their thoughts. He can look zoomed out at a bunch of other people in an area. And that's how the all-seeing eye is. And when you are a true oracle or messenger, you have the ability to do that too. You do. And I do. And that's how I can read the Akashic Records. I've done so many Akashic Records for people all around the world. And that has also been a reason why I'm able to see my own records. I was born being able to see them. I've always said I've had that awakening since as early as I can remember. And that's how I know a lot of history, of real history, and how things came to be as they are today. I'm able to also go as far back into my higher self and beyond that to be able to channel information as well from the records, the universal records, which is like the greater DNA of all things, and you have to be at a very high vibration to do that. A lot of people claim it, but a lot of people that I've seen claiming it came after me, after I started teaching it. And I don't say that in an egotistical way. I'm just trying to be honest because I have been ripped off and I've had people thieve my information from me. And it's very hurtful. It really is. I don't want fame from any of this. I really don't. I just want people to humbly recognize, because it's mine. If you were gifted that way, you would want people to notice you as the real thing having the gift, then give credibility to others that were just stealing it from the original source, But nevertheless, that's either here nor there. We live in a world where people do things like that, but a lot of them did come out with the information later. But history's been rewritten. Everything's been written for a greater agenda. And in that agenda, I've always said, from being able to see back and now and forward for you, for me, for everything, we are living in an agenda. I like to call it an experiment. I like to call it a school. There are so many things that I could label it. But the idea of it is that there's an agenda. And there's always been one elaborate agenda. But there is a new agenda for every age. And I talked about this in several videos, kind of hinting at it. I think there was one called End Times. And then I had another video talking about the new age. And then I've talked about it so many times in my predictions, in my blogs. I talked about it in 2016 in the world of soul types. It's www.aluracein.blogspot.com. And I talked about what was going to happen, to be expected in terms of how that agenda was going to start. And then going into my angels website, www.alurasangels.com, I have predicted through angel messages, Archangel Michael's message, Asmodeus came through and gave us a message, and Metatron and so many others, to where it finally led up to where I had to start something called the Angelic Herald. And the Angelic Herald is basically the angels who work with me heralding new things that are to come. And that brings me to the topic of this video. Let's talk about that, because it's so important to understand that right now we're living through those predictions. It's true. So Archangel Michael informed us that, there was a lot to be expected, natural disasters more than ever before. We've had that. That's been kind of escalating. But I remember back in the 90s, when I was a kid, we had winter, we had summer storms. And I remember those storms, like they were yesterday. I loved them. The thunder, the lightning. It was exciting as a kid, And then winter, it always started to snow a little bit in November and December. Sometimes we'd have a white Christmas out here in New Jersey, and it was beautiful, and the snow was powdery and light, and you could go out and play in it and not feel like you were freezing. But things greatly changed over time. And yes, it's because of global warming. I know that. But the weather was predicted to change, during the turning of an age. They called it the revelations. What they didn't explain in the book, which really imposed a lot of fear upon a lot of people, was that it wasn't the end of the world. It's just the end of the world the way that you knew it, as it is with every age. Back in 2012, I started my work in 2010, but I really started getting it out there 2012, 13, and 14. And during that time, I remembered we had the Planetary Alignments, we had the Mayan calendar, and there were so many things pointing to the agenda before it even happened. And the spiritual movement was a part of that agenda. I said that before too. They wanted to weed out those that were really passionate about spirit, because to be honest with you, it doesn't matter what religion you're in, it doesn't matter what church you go to. It matters if you have a real genuine love of spirit, because that's what God is. God is consciousness. Consciousness is energy, it's light, it's intelligence, it's spirit. And if you have a love for it, that you're going to go on some truth-seeking mission, for a long time to understand it, to go as deep as you possibly can, then obviously you're somebody that's chosen, because you're here longing for that connection, and the only way to connect with it is to understand, So how do you find all the real people? It's not going to be at church. Everybody at church, they go there. There's people that go there to look good. There are some people that go to church because there's nothing else to do. There are people that go to church because in a bad time, somebody from a church found them and they thought it saved their lives, and they feel like it's going to continue keeping them going. So there are so many different personal reasons to go to church, egotistical reasons to go to church. But those that really, truly love Source are the ones that are going to keep seeking outside of all of that. They're not going to look outside anymore. They're going to look inside. It starts with inside. It really does. It really does, because when you can look at yourself truthfully in the face and say, hey, I haven't, been the best person here. I need to change. I want to be a better person. I want to represent Source and its goodness to myself, to other people, to make better changes, and that way it helps the world. That's when you're inviting the Holy Spirit inside of you. That's when you're working with your higher self. So the only way to find those individuals was to kind of weed them out, and that was through offering this great awakening, and they were throwing these videos up on the side on YouTube for recommendations, and people were just going for them. And then they also wanted to find the people that were into the extraterrestrial ideas of interest, so they kind of mix that in with spirituality too. There's so many things. If you look at that entire movement as it was unraveling, it appealed to a little bit of everybody because it incorporated a little bit of everything. But we know that in religion there is half truth and half lies. The only way to find the real truth is to go inside yourself, go for that change, and reconnect with Source, be that change, and inspire that change in other people. Then we start to create a whole new world, it's full of peace and harmony. So in order to find the truth, of course, you're going to have to study, you're going to have to look through things, you're going to have a good teacher, a good leader. And I remember telling everybody, listen, if you're awakening, you're going to want to change. You're not going to want to be the same person that loves the same things. You're going to want to be this new embittered self. And that means you're not going to care so much about physical, worldly pleasures anymore. You're going to care about what you can give back. And you're not going to look at the negative things that have happened in your life. You're going to see them as a positive that have led you to this epiphany of wanting to change, of wanting to reconnect, and wanting to go into that love that you've always kind of carried, that is what's going to inspire all of that. So everybody went on these truth-seeking missions, and there was all kinds of misinformation out there. People believed that they were going to ascend. They believed that they were going to reconnect with the stars, and that just simply didn't happen for a lot of people. Instead, they went through, all these psychic trainings, trying to reconnect with a psychic ability, and I've told people, look, people can enhance their intuition, they can enhance their gut instincts, or they can find their own special gift that they do have and enhance that. But to become supremely psychic, you have to be born with psychic abilities, and people didn't believe that in what I was saying either. So they were looking for all the wrong things. They were looking for extreme psychic abilities. They were looking for having encounters with spirit. And I think that at the end of all of that, they found themselves very disappointed in it. But the people that I was working with, we've always started with working not in trying to obtain psychic abilities or to use them for fame, wealth, and money, as a lot of other people did, because they were following the trend of New Age teachers and gurus and tarot card readers and crystal jewelry, creators, soap makers and candle makers and all that. It just was such a trend. It became so commercialized. What they didn't realize is that it was all going to be thrown out there into the major franchises. You could walk into Walmart and buy a soap or candle making kit now. I mean, there's nothing mystical or special about it. They took the fun out of it. And that's what they do. When something is a trend and it's a part of an agenda to promote something, they will bore you to death with it eventually, because everybody's on the bandwagon. It starts to die out as a fad. And, now you can find it anywhere. It's not special. So for those people, a lot of promises were made that they didn't obtain in spirituality. They also found that a lot of the things that they felt were special to them, became everybody else's. It was now offered in stores, and everybody kind of lost their interest and their intrigue in spirituality. But those were the people that were looking for spirituality for the wrong reasons. But those that had set that agenda, that promoted propaganda, they were using it for their own right reasons, which were find out who has a pure, true love of God and spirit. Then we can depress them, give them these lies, these false promises, and once they get depressed, we can start slipping another agenda in there. It kind of plays into that. And they did, because if you're feeling dark, like attracts like, and if they're promoting a new darker type of spirituality, your depression and your moods and your bitterness towards what didn't work out for you is going to pull you right in, especially if it's, promoted on television and shows that they're playing, movies, and everything that you see when you open up your Instagram. And people that you find attractive are, doing some crazy poses and trying to look very mysterious and alluring in a dark way. So you also have the celebrities playing into that. So that in itself is pulling everybody into that agenda. And it is a difficult thing to ignore, especially when the propaganda was pushed off on people that grew up feeling very outcast, very isolated. They had a lot of emotional problems even. And I said that time and time again too, And that's exactly what was happening, because as everybody was on the YouTube back when all of that started, these were people that were kids that wanted to stay inside. Why else are you looking things up on YouTube? Because you're a loner. You're a loner type. You want to read. You're not like your other friends. You'd rather stay in at home with your family, maybe just, look some things up, watch some videos. And those are the kids that felt outcasted, never felt like they belonged with anybody else. And then boom, on the sidelines. Are you a starseed? So it really played into a lot of people are very vulnerable, very insecure, and very much feeling unaccepted. And then they knew those are the types of people that you can promise a lot and give them a little happiness and then just wipe it right away, to where now they feel bitter and even more unhappier than ever before, and they'll play into something even more darker because they feel that suits them. Now that's all happening because even time itself here has been a lie. And I'm teaching that in my courses. Right now we are on indignation. We went from truthology, lightology, heaven and hell, absolution. Now we're on indignation, and that's kind of summing everything up, but it's also going into things, of a deeper value as all of this. But teaching illumination has been interesting. It really has. And I coined the term illumination because that's what it is. I coined the term for a lot of things. A lot of the starseed races I discovered. I put up there on the blogs and the websites. I channeled a lot. And it's just been a very, very interesting journey. I'm not giving up yet. But getting to the point, the agenda leads to another agenda that's leading to a greater agenda. And even though time, has been a lie itself, history has been rewritten. What you can see is that we are merging into a new age. And while you can call it the age of Aquarius, I've referred to it as that, kind of going along with things. That's not really the age that we're in. Look at all of the signs all around us. There's nothing that speaks of Aquarius. Instead, it speaks of a darker note, and we look at the last age of man. If you want to research that, I'm not going to say it here. Or if you look at even the fact that we are Generation Z, not me, myself, but, the newer generations. And that's the last letter of the alphabet. I mean, come on, it couldn't be any more obvious. So it's not the end of the world. It is the end of time as you knew it. And that means that things are going to change. We go back to my video, Indoor Generation, and I'm telling you how it's going to be. Everything that I have said has always been honest and truthful. And people have said, oh, well, Laura, I don't want to listen to her. She's very negative. She's only promoting fear. And that's not at all what I was trying to do, because behind all of that, I'm like, here's the truth. Wake up. Realize it. Don't be blind. You want real truth? Here's real truth. If you don't like it, okay, but you want truth, so there it is. You can't ignore it, So while I was giving the truth, it's like, stay positive, stay faithful. Let's go and experiment with these things. Let's talk about these things. Let me give you this good advice in your readings for change. And it was to motivate, inspire, keep you positive, keep you busy for a reason, while you're learning that truth, so that truth wouldn't eat away at you. And as you're going through your transitions in ascension and awakening, you die to your old self. That's the first death that they talk about, because when you're really going through a spiritual evolution, you're going to die to the old way of you, who you were, your personality, what you used to believe in, your interests that you used to like. It all goes away because now you are upgrading yourself to this new person. And that new person that you are may not even be beat for any of the things that are going on in the world around you. You may have loved video games. Now you hate them. I don't like them. There's no sense in them. Music that you used to listen to, you may be disgusted by. You may not even want to go outside anymore to hang out with your friends, because the things that they do, may seem simple. And you'd much rather be in your house, just kind of sitting back, meditating on things, digging deeper even more, staying up to date with fresh information, and just connecting with the people that really love you, instead of being around superficial ones that can bite you in the back easily, because there's really no trust out there anymore. So you have to continue that road. You don't stop there no matter what's going on in the world. You keep growing, keep evolving, redefine yourself based on that new position that you're in your evolutionary phase. But the world itself is in an evolutionary phase too. We go into the predictions found in the Angelic Herald. This was done in July 4th of 2019. And that was called In the Dark, where Archangel Gabriel, told us a lot of things. And a lot of what we were told was about the things that were getting ready to take place. And it wasn't something, that others could really predict, because there have been people talking about revelations coming true for how long now, But as soon as I started channeling and putting the messages in the Angelic Heralds out there, they were happening boom, 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 like one after the other, as soon as I would post them, like that following week or that following month. So I did specify in very specific areas of those messages, like, hey, I'm not certain as to when this is going to happen, but it is going to happen, soon. So in the dark, in Gabriel's message back in July of last year, we heard a lot of things. We heard about, there being an economic collapse. We heard about there being massive earthquakes, more and more and more tornadoes. We talked about there being a great deception that was going to be revealed. One country that was going to be blamed for something when it was actually the other country's fault. And that's happening right now. It's happening right now. It really is. And then I also, back in August of 2019, talked about it more in The Eye of the Storm, where I elaborated a little bit more so on that subject. And it was just all a matter of waiting for things to happen, but they started happening right afterwards, little by little, until we hit this great epic scene as to where we are today. So my Facebook group, and I want people to understand that the people on my Facebook are not my fans, they are my friends. I have had the honor and the humbling privilege of getting to personally connect with these individuals. And I've done work for them. They've been students, yes, but they are my friends. I look at them as equals, even though I have these great powers and abilities. They are still my equals, and so are all of you. But I've connected with them, and I love them with all of my heart. Every one of them, even those that are no longer, considered a part of the group, I still think of them every day. But they saw it, they saw it happening, and it was, I think a little overwhelming for them. And then you had, some people that were following me that when everything that I predicted happened, and it happened so quickly, I think that it kind of scared them a little bit, because they were thinking to themselves, wow, she's done readings for me, but she's predicting, everything that's happening in the world. She must really, really be for real, for real. I mean, there's people that come to me and they get doubts, and I can't understand why, since I've proven myself so much, and it hurts. It does when they express those doubts, or I can see that they have those doubts. It breaks my heart, because I've only had good intentions. I've always provided good intentions, friendship, love, unconditional support. And when that doubt arises, yes, it hurts a little bit, but I can't take that away from them. This is something that's like, it's surreal. Even what's happening now today in the world with the virus and the global pandemic, it's still got even other people out there non-associated, like, wow, is this really happening? And that's what happens when something is happening that's so big that you can't wrap your mind around it at first. So I don't blame the people that, have really had those doubts lately, as far as like having to question it, because, who can do that? So I don't blame them. But the idea is you can't run from the truth of what's happening. And I've always prepared. I've been talking about it since the blood moons that we had. I've been talking about it, since Obama was in office. I mean, it goes back, and I've always been trying to prepare everybody. But it all leads to a greater agenda. So let's talk about that agenda a little bit. I'm trying to fit like everything into this video, because it's been a while, and I'm not sure as to when I'll do another video, because it's like off and on with me because of the censorship. But just to say, we have this coronavirus there. As of today, which is March 23rd, we have 339,039 people in the world that are affected by it. We have 14,698. So none of this is to scare people. And what I'm trying to say, I'm just trying to get you to kind of, open your mind to that awareness that, this isn't all just happening for no reason. You lost 1 billion animals on this planet in the fire in Australia. We had damage to our oxygen supplier in the Amazon. There have been tornadoes, great, sets of tornadoes, even up to having 100 of them in a 24-hour period. And that in itself, is biblical. We've had so many things happen, these earthquakes, most of California was on fire. Now this global pandemic, which is affecting all these countries. And I said, we are heading toward the Battle of Megiddo. We really, really are. But I don't think people really ever understood what Megiddo was, and there's a lot of things they don't understand too. They read the Bible, and that's why I always said, like, look, it's been hard to kind of fit in here because, the New Age gurus and psychics don't accept me because I talk about angels, so it's too dogmatic, and I reference the Bible. But when it comes to Christians, I don't fit in there either because I do believe in energy work, and, I do some interpretations of the Bible that they would never have even thought of. But with that being said, Megiddo is a battle that's meant to take place in the Holy Land, but Jerusalem isn't the Holy Land. This was labeled the Holy Land after Rome took over and all of that, and then the agenda of promoting Christianity and founding it to where, it spread even into Great Britain and whatnot. They actually used Jerusalem as a huge base, during the Crusades. So it became the Holy Land to a lot of people, especially those that really believe in the message of Jesus. But the true Holy Land comes from the place where all religion, all spirituality stems from. And that was in Sumer, because Sumer was the start of it all. And it was from Sumer that many migrated. They migrated into Babylon, they migrated down into Canaan, Egypt, Jerusalem, or Israel rather, and so on and so forth until, it was widespread. So there's so much more to that. You can find it in my courses if you ever want to enroll. We have a bundle thing going on right now, but you don't have to. I'm not really worried about it. And I really am very strict about who gets into those courses anyway. So it's not about, the enrollment fee, because if I feel the person isn't ready, I'm just going to say, I don't think you're ready. But overall, Megiddo is, the Holy Land. It starts where religion and spirituality and everything has all come from, and that was in fact in Sumer first. So you may find that a lot of the fighting is going to occur, in Iraq or Iran, because that's right around in the area, of where a lot of ancient religions kind of popped up from, because that's like Babylonian and Sumer areas. So we have that happening, in the prediction that I made in the Angelic Herald, that one country will be blamed for one thing, and it'll actually be the other country's fault. I was talking about this virus because obviously somebody started it. It's no, it's no puzzle to kind of wrap your mind around that. Think about it. Where does a virus just come out of nowhere? It doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's either always existed, or somebody has manufactured it. And even if it's been dead for a long time and you haven't heard of many people having it and it just pops up, it's still, pretty evident that it's been manufactured, and we can see that that's exactly what happened. And the countries that are being affected by it are starting to point the finger at the country that was responsible. And you're going to see that kind of unravel too. And it's funny because we had some people in very strong political positions sell their stocks, long before this was even a pandemic, and buy into telecommunications. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Did you know we were going to be stuck indoors? Did you know you were going to need to withdraw your money? Yeah, they knew, so don't let them fool you. This was all something that was a part of that agenda that I'm always talking about. What is that agenda? Well, we are moving towards a new world order. I don't want anybody to be scared of it. Obviously life is going to change. It's going to be a long time before we get resolution to what's happening right now with the global pandemic. But certainly, a lot of people are going to be okay. They really are. They have faith. They'll be okay. You stay strong. You stay positive. Listen to the motivation and advice if you need it. I'm always here. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. And if you need to, message me on Messenger. If I can find the time to respond, I'll talk with you. I've also offered free healings to people that thought they were infected by, the illness. But you're going to be fine. Don't feed into the fear. This is all a lot of hysteria. The mind can be triggered so greatly that, if you keep going with it on the news and people are talking about it everywhere, people are going to start feeling some kind of symptom, or any little symptom that they get, they're going to think that it's that, and the mind will produce more, because it's mind over matter, and mind is a powerful thing. And that's exactly what's happening. Some of the people that are believed to have it haven't even been tested. They just call in, oh, hey, I have these symptoms. Okay, stay home for 2 weeks. And then the place that they call CDC marks it down as another number of those infected, and they may not be infected at all. But it's just to kind of blow things out of proportion, So it is being sensationalized. But it does still connect with the agenda for end times, end of the time as you knew it. Because right now we're pushing for a more digital age, and even though it always says that the firstborn in the Bible talks about, the firstborn, they die. And then during the plagues, then there is another generation that receives an inheritance. All of that is basically pertaining to the fact that the last age incorporates the new one. They kind of morph together until they're finally spawned off into the new age entirely. And that's what's happening. Aquarius is all about technology and a digital age and so on and so forth. And then you have also, the age of Capricorn, which is all about darkness and Satanism, and that's what you see out there today. A lot of people are getting involved in that. They're getting involved in dark mysticism, because, being a better person, stop being fun to them. So, I don't know. All I'm saying is just don't feed into it too much, but we are moving into a new world order. And in order for a new foundation to be built, and I've said this before, the old one has to be torn away. Even Jesus said you can't put new wine into old wineskins, because it's going to get ruined. The wine itself, that new wine, is going to taste terrible from the old taste, that's absorbed in the wineskin. So you got to get rid of the old foundation to build on top. You have to. And there's going to be better science in that new age. I can see a new currency system, and it is going to be, more of a dictatorship. But if you stay positive and you learn how to cope with the changes, it won't be harsh or unpleasant for you. And that just means get used to being indoors, get used to a lot of technology, but try to keep some of the nostalgia of what you knew, with your family. There's tons of things that we can do with our kids. We can still keep the magic of life alive. We really can. You don't have to conform to where you lose that. But you are going to have to adapt to the changes that are to come. But in terms of all this chaos that's about to happen, look up the predictions. I'm not going to repeat them here. www.alurasangels.com. Type in the search bar. You have to scroll all the way down. You will see a search bar. Type in Angelic Herald. There are many of them, just predictions after predictions after predictions. And I always date them because I want people to know, that I put it out there first. I really did. And I did so for free on my blogs because I wanted people to have the preparation and know what they were up against to keep themselves safe so that they could better cope with the times to come. And I know a lot of people didn't listen. They didn't pay me any mind. And that's either here nor there now. But I hope you're paying attention now. We are entering this new time. And it's time to get yourself into a positive mindset. Don't feed into the hype. Yes, there are more and more things to come. We are living in dangerous times, but that's why you got to stay even more positive. You have to. Don't get lost in it. Don't become a part of that second death where you numb and you can't get yourself back again. Because that's what a lot of people are doing. They're numbing up because they can't face the truth, and they give up spiritually. They start questioning God when bad things happen, and they feel like God is gone. So they die inside, and this reminds me a lot of the scripture that was found at John 17:12, or also 2 Thessalonians 2:3, and it says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away, and the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition." But if you look that term up, son of perdition, similar uses in Hebrew meant sons of corruption. So there are a lot of good things to come from this. You're going to find out so many truths that have been hidden away from you, because the truth always comes to the light. I've been talking about the wolf in sheep's clothing always being revealed. I use the wolf in sheep's clothing all the time, and that's what I'm talking about. You're going to see the wolves that have been wearing that sheep's clothing. You're going to find out, all the lies, and the sons of corruption will be revealed. We have otherworldly visitors up there too. It's going to be cloudy in a lot of areas lately, especially at nighttime now that all this is happening, because they don't want anyone to see or acknowledge them. So be careful with that as well. Not all of them are good or friendly. We'll go into that at another video topic later. But the sons of corruption, that includes spiritually and physical. And with that, at least you're going to learn the truth. They're going to try to cover it up. They might shut down the internet to kind of take it down or whatever, so it doesn't get out there, but they can't hide it. And as you learn more and more, that's going to change the way you feel about a lot of things, about what you're willing to accept and live with. And I hope that that changes your mindset, so that inside of yourself you can rise up and say, hey, I'm not going to be treated like a sheeple anymore. I want to have a good life. I want Earth to be healthy. I want my brothers and sisters on Earth to be healthy. And this way, if everyone's in that mindset, we can join together, to start rebuilding and maybe have a better, more positive, more healthier, more righteous foundation, rather than just entering this new order of things and allowing everything to just be controlled just in a different way again. So that's why the predictions are out there. It's to get you to open your eyes, see that it's really happening, one after the other, and then finally say, wow, this is for real. She's for real. She's always been real. Let me listen to what she has to say, because what I say isn't coming just from me. It's coming from up there. I never speak to anyone without having their guides channel right through, even when I'm talking as a friend. And even in these videos, because that's what an oracle is. I'm an angel, and we are oracles. We are the reflections of you and everything else and what needs to be seen. So let all these things that are happening empower you, inspire you, even though it's so negative and chaotic and scary even. And you might feel anxiety. You may feel like you've lost something and not know what it is. You may start slipping in that depression, but don't numb up. Stay positive. Want to do something. Now more than ever is the time to be the change you wish to see. It really is. Because if you give up and you don't try, others aren't going to try. And you know what? We're going to enter into a new order, and it's going to be far more controlled than it ever was before. It really is. There's a lot of things to expect in that. We'll talk about that, later on. But all of this really does kind of take me back to the censorship issues, and as to why they would probably censor me, which is, I've asked so many people before, and those that had great connections into things too, and they have all said, well, you have the ability to see things that others really don't. You have the ability to predict all these things, and that's intimidating, and it reminds me of a project that was actually going on underground for people that were extremely psychic and whatnot. So I guess when they locate those individuals, they're automatically silenced. But I want the censorship to end. I'm trying to be very careful about what I talk about while still informing others. But we need to get this information out there. So please, no matter how you feel, we've had enough competition, hatred, jealousy. I say it over and over again. No matter how you feel, that what I'm saying is true. So please, reshare and spread the word. Like this video, let it be in your likes, put it out there on your Facebook, on your Instagrams, whatever you can do, because, people deserve to have the truth. They need to have the truth. And without sharing it, they're not just going to come across it, on their own. Many will. I have had many, but there's still so many other people, in other words, that I haven't really fully reached, and I'd like to, for their best interests at heart. And, that's what all this is always been about. So thank you for listening. Listen, I love you all. Stay safe. Don't play into the hype. And just know, we have the power and the ability in our hands in a peaceful, loving way to, in each of us, start growing towards change, inspire each other towards change, so that we can have global change, Earth can heal. It really can. So let's hope that everything that's happening today will inspire you to be a part of that healing process. I love you all. Talk to you soon.